kiss and hug me. Come on, strong, go on and love me. Let's not waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you want to be more than friends.
Welcome everybody to another Social Web Cafe TV interview. And today we have Rebekah Radice. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
You did. Yes, thank you.
Like, I hope that was it right. Nothing like, yes, I do know who I'm talking to. Hello, Rebekah, and welcome. But I'm looking forward to getting to know you better during the interview because I've seen you. It's almost like, do you remember going to school and you pass in the hallway or whatever? It's like the social media arena globally. You pass people. Yeah. Like in the hallway, it's like, where do I know you from? Or,
Yeah, it is so true. It's kind of like two ships in the night because you are passing across each other on so many different platforms these days. I think when we were talking yesterday, it was, we can't even remember where we first met each other because you do. You're on Google Plus, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, wherever, and you're running into the same people, which is a lot of fun. And it also makes it a great way to get to know people because people, as I'm sure you see, share a lot of different information across different channels. Yep,
exactly. And it's always funny to me, and you probably find this as far as working with a brand. When you're working with a specific brand and you think you know someone from somewhere else or personally or whatever, and then they show up and they've been a part of this community for so long, and it's like, wow, I didn't know you were here too. Yeah,
who knew? I know. Yes, exactly. I've had that happen a lot.
Well, tell us a little bit about Rebekah. I would love to. Okay, you don't have to share all the
gory details.
I might love to hear it, but kind of like Rebekah's 15-second pitch.
Yeah,
like what your background and so forth.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll kind of give you my little brief resume and bio. I am the Manager of Industry Engagement is my big fancy title for Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. And what that means is I'm managing all of their content from a brand level on a daily basis. So all of their online properties as well as blog content. So out there actively building relationships on their behalf. My background is...
Can I interrupt you for just a second? I'm so sorry. Okay, I got to get this. I keep thinking social media manager as a title, but I'm still, okay, manager of industry
engagement.
Industry engagement.
It's one of those titles that I don't use very often because it makes everybody go, huh? What exactly does that mean? What exactly do you do? So, to make it very simple, I am, as I said, just creating content, actively engaging on all of their social media channels, and then strategically analyzing what we're doing online. So everything from Facebook to Google Plus to Pinterest to how our blog plays into that on a daily basis. That's really in a nutshell, and then working side by side with the marketing department on all of our promotions, sweepstakes, everything that we're rolling out on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, working with them on the content and then the rollout of whatever that might be, that promotion or sweepstakes.
So is that similar to like a community building strategist?
Yeah, exactly. Community manager is probably more along the lines of what it would be. It really is a relationship building. I spend so much of my time out there just actively keeping in touch, staying in touch, interviewing, just really trying to keep us in front of those key people within the industry, those influencers, those brand builders, those people that are very active online, active within the social world, which obviously there's an awful lot of them these days. As everybody has realized and the light bulb has finally gone off that social media is, oh my gosh, it's not going away. I should probably embrace it. So it gives me very, well, I'll tell you, within the real estate niche, which is what I'm in, it is for a lot of people. It's very recent. I think we're still very behind the eight ball in a lot of ways, where they've been slow to embrace social media. I think there was a lot of pushback for multiple reasons. Not having enough time, which is pretty typical, I think, across the board to just about anybody, to embracing what was their traditional marketing methods and things, those tried and true things that have worked for years for them, and just trying to figure out how to integrate that into what they're doing. So a big part of what I do is that training and bringing that understanding into their everyday business. So helping them understand how they can harness the power, for lack of a better term, of social media without feeling overwhelmed. So many are juggling, just multiple different things, running their own businesses, and trying to find that few moments within the day to fit social media in is something that the real estate industry and just about any industry out there seems to deal with. So going back to what does Rebekah do and what does Rebekah's day look like? Training's a big part of that, and that's really where I started. My heart is definitely in the training piece, helping people get that light bulb to go off. My background was within real estate and mortgage, but with a marketing background. And so while I was running a business, I was really more focused on how can I help mortgage and real estate professionals dive into social media. And certainly when I started, it was just traditional marketing, helping them understand how they could better build their own personal brand with all of the marketing that they had available to them, either within the brand that they were with or building their own personal brand. And so as I spent more and more time training, and as social media really started to come on the scene, I started to make that transition and really realize that that was where my passion was at, was helping those mortgage professionals, those realtors, those everyday people take hold of all that social media, and especially blogging. I'm a huge proponent of blogging as well within all of that. Being able to pull all of that together in a strategic way, create a roadmap. And so that's pretty much what I do with my day, is from beginning to end, helping those that really need the help figure out how to make it work, and then also from a brand level, making sure that everything we're doing is working as well.
Wow. And it sounds like from our chat yesterday, as far as the brand, as far as Better Homes, and there's also the brand of Rebekah, and you have figured out a way, and I have to give Better Homes some credit, like you said yesterday, as far as that marriage. But it sounds like you are actually also teaching realtors how to not lose themselves. It's like you are replicating yourself. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what you do in your coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly is. And I think what you're alluding to is our conversation yesterday about building my personal brand under the umbrella of the Better Homes and Gardens brand. And yes, they have been wonderful in the sense of allowing me to continue to do that. It was just very important to me that I continue to have the Rebekah Radice brand within the Better Homes and Gardens real estate brand. And so it's been a lot of fun to go on that journey with them. I think what's been most fascinating to me is to be able to translate it, as you were saying, translate what is working for me, what is working at the brand level, and be able to take that and put that into the perspective of somebody who doesn't have that big budget, doesn't have the money to, do all the Facebook advertising or the online advertising that a big brand can, but take that and put that into a very workable, a very budget-friendly strategy for that real estate agent that does want to make a mark and make a dent and gain a voice within social media, but just really hasn't been able to figure out how to do it. So for me, it's a whole lot of fun to be able to take those big strategies, kind of water them down into, hey, this is something that you can easily take and implement, and you don't have to put a whole lot of thought or effort into it, because I can tell you this already works, and this is how you just need to take it and kind of translate it into your business. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for these days, are simple strategies, things that aren't going to take an inordinate amount of time, that they can work into their business and come in and maybe do 15, 30 minutes per day and start to actually see some results.
That's excellent. So now, do you do that, do you do private coaching, or is that something that you give the information through blog writing and hints and tips?
I'm not doing any private coaching at this point, but it is coaching within the Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Network. So working with the brokers and owners really is the level at which I'm working, and then allowing them to take that information and disseminate it to the real estate agents within their office. And then, for me, the outlet really is my blog. It's then all of the social networks that I'm very, very active on, as I know you can attest. And being able to take what I'm learning and share that with all of those people that I've built relationships with over the years. And so, it's fun. It's fun to be able to take stuff, that trial and error that we're doing every single day, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, why did this post take off? Why did this one land with a big dull thud? And being able to share that with those that, like I said, don't have the time or maybe the means to figure that out on their own, and share with them, here's what I figured out, here's what I see is working right now, and no matter what industry you're in, no matter what business you're running, here's how you can take that and really run with it on your own.
Well, I don't know if I have you to thank, but I have 2 posts on my my blog, because my blog is mostly about social media and different tips and so forth. And I have a couple from guest authors on real estate, on how to use Twitter in real estate. And of course, they're on my blog because they relate to social media, but they probably get hit the most with comments. I have realtors hitting and commenting. So it's good to see that an industry is really embracing the whole social media aspect. So I don't know, Rebekah, maybe you have a part of that.
I hope so. I would like to believe so. It's been slow going, as I said, but it's very exciting to see, especially there's a huge movement to Google Plus, which I just love to see that happening. And I think why it's happening is there's an enormous amount of very active real estate bloggers. And I think they're really understanding the benefits of being on Google Plus. So what I'm seeing are all these communities sprouting up all of a sudden with realtors that are actively blogging, actively using other social networks. But now what they're doing is they're sharing best practices, or sharing their strategies, or sharing, what's working, what's not within their business, which I don't think that's something we've seen a lot of in the past. It was more, I'm going to hang on to these ideas, they're all mine, and you're my competition, and I don't have any desire to share those ideas with you. And instead, social media is kind of changing the mindset. And I think more and more are realizing that there's enough of the pie to go around, and that they'd rather be able to collaborate and share those best practices and learn from others' experiences, then kind of sit alone, that whole woman on an island idea, trying to figure it all out on their own. So so social media definitely getting pretty active within the real estate community.
I think that's true even outside the real estate, as far as the sharing. I mean, okay, I have to admit, I teach on Hangout techniques and so forth, and take it to the next level, and the professionalism and even production on all that. And there's several tips. I thought about it. I'm just going to keep this to myself. I'm not going to share this. But you know what? You're right. It's like an island. Somebody else is going to come up with the same thing, because we are not talking the theory of relativity here. We're not talking anything that's so complicated that somebody else isn't already doing it and thought of it themselves. So why not share it? Because maybe you have a little chance to say, hey, I heard this from Rebekah. I heard this from Deborah. And you get a little bit of, a feel-good moment there. But, I think you see that in a lot of different niches as far as that sharing. And I think that's a good thing.
I do too. I love it. And, I think to your point, what I love most about it is that you'll share something and I'll go, huh, I never even thought about that. So it gives you this whole new take on something that all of a sudden, it might be the most simple change to how you're doing something, but it could make a dramatic difference in how you're going about utilizing maybe a tool or a technique, something within your business. So I think that's what I love most about it, especially when those posts take off and all of a sudden you see, 40, 50 comments deep in there, all of these different ideas and ways that people are using social media. That's where it gets pretty exciting, because all of a sudden that one little idea you have explodes into just, numerous different ways or directions that you could take something.
Oh, that collaboration element where different people add to the mix and you end up with something. Yeah, I've had several aha moments, like how could I not know that? Or I was giving a webinar and I was talking about how you invite your grandma to the hangout because she's probably sleeping or she doesn't have an account or, whatever, so it's not ringing to bother her. And someone said, well, you could just not invite anyone. And I thought, I didn't even, when you're just testing the hangout to just do your lower third or whatever, and you're not actually having a video call with anyone, I never thought of trying to call nobody. So I had to go change all my training and say, oh my word, that's so obvious. How could the expert miss that?
I know, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I feel like I have those almost daily. They're either aha or duh moments where you think, how did I miss something so simple? But I love that we can share that with other people because those are the things I see people really connect to, where they're feeling the same exact way. We're just in the trenches every single day trying to figure out how to better embrace social media. And sometimes I think we overlook those little aha moments as, oh, well, everybody must know that. And they don't. They really don't. And I think that fear that was crippling some of us for so long and hanging on to those ideas is really opening up some amazing opportunities, but also some incredible conversations on, just how to better utilize social media, which I don't know about you, but it gets me pretty excited, when you see people that have maybe pushed back against social media or said, I just don't have the time for it. And all of a sudden you share a couple of those ahas and the light bulb goes off. And they're off and running, and they you start paying attention, and you're like a proud mama, watching them all of a sudden over here on Facebook doing something, and Twitter and Google Plus, and so it's very exciting.
It is exciting, and you seem like the type of person that you have that helper attitude.
Yes, I do.
Enjoy, really, those seeing the light bulb, like you said, going off on people that you help. I remember when I started on Facebook, I was not afraid. But I thought, and I'm a musician, so I thought, okay, I can't post anything on Facebook as a status until it's like, all right, I have this gig on Sunset Strip or something. Like, I'm not supposed to put anything on there. So, I would just be patiently waiting day after day. And I'm like, wow, that person just posted that they had a peanut butter sandwich. I could probably post something, and it was like, I can't imagine that there was ever a time that I didn't want to post anything unless it was huge, like, press release news. Yeah. But it's so fun to see people just get so comfortable. I mean, my son is putting out quotes that are better than quotes that I find. I'm like, wow, that is such a cool idea to use Facebook for quotes, Yeah, I know. It's just, it really is. It's amazing to see and how it's evolved, because I know exactly what you mean, where, I think when some of us first got on,
either an entrepreneur, a business owner, wherever we were in that stage of our lives, we thought, oh, well, I can't share anything until it's this really big moment, and I need everybody to be excited for me. And then you start to realize, ooh, there's so much more power in letting people in and letting people know who I am and kind of the person behind the business. And so that's a lot of what I train to, is how to make that shift, how to still be professional, but also let people see what it is that makes you tick, what it is that you love to do on the weekends. Where are you going? What are you doing? And obviously that's a comfort level for that person. And how much they want to share. But it's such an incredible way for us to reach consumers in a way that we never could before. Before we were just simply blasting information. We were pushing out whatever it was we wanted them to know about our business. Whereas now it's a conversation. It's interactive. They can ask us questions. And within the real estate industry, and I would assume it's the same across, the web, consumers are actively researching online long before they're ever actually doing business with somebody. So the presence we're creating and those conversations that we're having are really being scrutinized. So, I think to be able to take it from just pushing out that information or that big news or that PR moment, as you said, to, hey, here's more of how I'm involved within my community, or how I'm serving my community from a real estate point of view is super important. Those are the things that people want to know. Those are the things that humanize you, and those are the things that connect people to you, as opposed to here's my resume and bio, and this is why you want to work with me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more personal. Now, while you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, this all makes sense from a broker standpoint as far as, for example, what am I doing this weekend? How does it work on a brand level, the separation between an entity and a person? For example, Better Homes as a brand isn't going to say I'm going to the beach because it's an entity. But is that Rebekah saying, so in other words, people, let me see if I can formulate this. If you're going to represent a brand, you almost have to represent the personality of yourself so that people can connect. Oh, Rebekah is going to the beach this weekend, and then that gives some warm fuzzies for the brand. Is that? Do you think that's?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point, which is how do you become the voice of a brand? And I would suspect we all follow brands, from Disney to Oreo, that Pepsi, whoever it might be, that are our favorite things offline, and we've followed them online. And how do they translate who they are offline into that voice that we now know and love online? And some, obviously, the ones I mentioned, I think are doing a phenomenal job with that. But it can be really hard. And so I think what you said in Rebekah translating my voice, there is a bit of that, definitely. It is my personality. It is, I have a bit, not a hyper personality, but a ton of enthusiasm for life. And that translates really well to a lifestyle brand, which is exactly what we are. And so there's this interesting marriage of taking that brand and all that it's about, and putting a voice to it. And so for me, it's been finding what are those topics, what are those things that our fans and followers and consumers really connect with, and then making it fun, making it something that is relatable to them. And it's definitely been a process. I've been with them for 2 years now, and it has definitely been a step-by-step progression of, okay, they don't like that, they do like that. And what I found was the more I interjected my personality, the more relatable the brand became, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I think there's that fine line of, it's certainly not about me, so I'm not putting myself out there, but making sure that they feel that there is a human, there's somebody behind the brand that they can connect with, because otherwise you've just got that stale, static entity that it makes it very difficult for anybody to relate to. So, for anybody that is taking their business or taking a brand and trying to transition it online, I would say it's all very trial and error, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to say things, to say those relatable things, those fun things, use those terms that people would use in everyday life, and just get a feel for how they respond. And so the more, I would say, there are things that I would put in a post and I think, oh my goodness, that sounds so goofy. And it would just be my biggest post ever. Because it wasn't the goofiness of it, it was the relatability of it, that I put it in terms that you and I would say to each other, that we would say within a conversation, not marketing speak, not PR speak, not that ad speak that we see so many times. That certainly is in other places, but doesn't necessarily always find a home in social media.
You are so, I can so relate, because there's a lot of times on these interviews like this and podcasts, and I do like a marketing show, that I will say like the corniest, which really, I mean, Rebekah, you're actually seeing me. Okay, there might be some things I say at the dinner table that I'm not going to say here, but I mean, this is my personality. When I do it, I'm like, oh my goodness, you've got to cut that out of the video. But I've left it in because otherwise it would be very, very sterile. And if people really want to connect relationally, then they can see exactly who you are in your blog post and what you say and how you really talk, and not, like you said, not this, just the marketing speak. So that makes I can see that in my own life. So that makes sense what you're saying.
Well, and it's I guess it's the polished part of the marketing and PR, which is obviously super important from a brand level. And by no means am I talking about, using terminology or words that are going to be offensive or that aren't on brand, so to speak. You really do have to find that voice within your brand. And to go back to some that are doing it really well, I love Oreo's page. Oreo has more fun than just about any Facebook page I know. Well, maybe Skittles. Skittles does a phenomenal job too. So for anybody watching that hasn't checked out those pages, to understand what we are talking about here as far as finding your voice, they are prime examples of understanding who they're marketing to, who their consumer is, what that niche is, and then going after it every single day and giving them day in and day out exactly what they're looking for.
You make me hungry, but
I know.
Check out the pages we've done.
I'm like,
I don't think we invented this. We like somehow I get credit for social media, because as Melissa talked about this, Rebekah, I think of the whole spokesperson, which I'm sure I'm not 100 years old, but it seems to me that goes back as far as a marketing tactic way before social media. And right away, I think Danica Patrick is where's GoDaddy, and I'm like,
oh, absolutely,
some other wonderful people, but she has such a warm smile. She seems gutsy because she races cars, and I can't help but think of her. It's like they can't get rid of her because I GoDaddy and I think of her, but it's like a spokesperson. But now there's a whole other element because you can actually connect. It's like connecting with that celebrity, that spokesperson. So it seems like we just kind of reinvented a concept that's been around even before we were born.
I would completely agree with you. And I think the other aspect of that is what those celebrities or what that voice of the brand is doing is making the brand accessible for the first time. I think it's making all of us accessible in a way that we never were before. You think about Twitter, and the entire reason I got started on Twitter was really to follow all those people, authors that I loved, and be able to keep up with what they're talking about, and gaining all of that knowledge that you would have had to buy a book to find out before. So all of a sudden you find yourself having conversations with people that you would have never been able to do. And I think that's what social media is doing for brands. It's putting a face, it's putting a voice, it's putting a tone to that brand that, sure, it was there through all of their advertising in the past, but might not have felt as easily relatable or accessible as it is today through social media.
I like that, relatable and accessible. And I would imagine that as far as celebrities go, that it gives a little protective layer. I mean, you can tweet and not feel like you're going to have a stalker show up at your front door.
Yeah.
So I think it allows them to connect with their fans without having to think about all the security measures and the fan mail and opening and all this stuff. And that one is a great way to connect the fans and the celebrities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and think about it too, just from a brand level, the knowledge you're gaining by being able to interact in real time with those consumers, by being able to ask questions, kind of the whole idea behind crowdsourcing, just so many different ways we can gain very valuable information and insight, which we couldn't have done, at that level, at least, in the past.
Definitely.
So there's two sides to that coin, and I think it's a win-win either way you look at it.
Definitely. Have you used the Q&A in the Google Hangouts?
I have. Yeah.
I love it. We had a question, just a hangout this morning, and someone asked a question. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. But the question that was asked, I never would have thought of giving that information had that person not asked something that may be a basic question, but a very needed one. So, you're right. That is so helpful to allow people to be able to ask questions.
Yeah. Again, that goes back to that accessibility.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Is that a Rebekah thing that we can quote? The accessibility and another cup of coffee.
Relatability.
There we go. That's right. The advantage is I watch the interview and then I can put it in there, and then I'll give you credit in the show notes as the coining the two.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, I was just going to tag that with, we talk so much about, and everybody says, oh, I'm so tired of that word, authenticity within social media. But for maybe how diluted the word has become, I don't think it makes it any less important. And so, again, social media from a brand level, but for anybody using social media, it gives you the chance to really show your true authentic self. So as you were saying, there were maybe some pieces within your HOA that you were like, oh, cut that out. I don't want that there. But you left it. And kudos to you for leaving it, because those are those moments that people get a little giggle, or, they go, oh my gosh, I do the same exact thing. And those are those bonding moments, those moments that are pure gold to me. Where, all of a sudden you take that relationship of brand and consumer to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. So what tips do you have? I was going to ask the question, what tips do you have for a social media manager? But now I'm not sure what title to use for the tips. So maybe the question should have two blanks in it. What tips would you give for blank people in general? Well, although you've given them all interviews, so I should be fair. You give me a lot of tips, but
for anybody using social media, if you're looking to build a presence online, I would say just dive in and do it. I see so much fear in social media, and the biggest thing I tell people is you can't break it. It's trial and error for so many of us, and the only way you're going to figure out what works and what doesn't for your personal business is to get in there and do it. And what I find 9 times out of 10 is the more times you do it, the more you do it with the frequency, the more fun you're going to have, and the more consistent you're going to be. But with that, I would also say, don't think you need to be everything to everybody, and don't think you need to be everywhere. Not everybody's target market is on Facebook. Not everybody's target market is on Google Plus or Twitter or Pinterest. So identify where your niche is. Where are they hanging out? Where are they spending time? And then put your energy into mastering that one platform. From there, you can branch out. But I think that's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make initially, is thinking they have to be everywhere, totally overwhelming themselves, and then just freezing. Feeling as if there's no way they can keep up with it all, when in reality, maybe everybody they know or need to know is right there on Facebook. And that's really all they needed to do to get started. So, a couple pieces of advice are just get started, just do it. But you don't have to be everywhere to get started.
So you guys, Rebekah has given you permission to just start out with the baby steps.
Exactly. Yes. Well, and likewise, for social media managers, when you talk about permission, I always think, when I first got started years ago, the best piece of advice I was given was, you don't know what you don't know. And likewise, the people out there paying attention don't know what you don't know. So don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid to just get out there. You are extremely knowledgeable in your niche, in your field, and whatever it is that you do. And the value that you bring is being able to share all of that information, package it up with your unique qualities, whatever that, uniqueness is, say that 3 times fast, that makes you you. And so, from a social media manager's point of view, you've got to be willing to put yourself out there and put yourself out there on behalf of your clients as well. Because if you're not willing to test the waters through trial and error, your clients certainly aren't going to be willing to either.
Excellent advice. This whole interview, excellent advice. I have so enjoyed talking with you.
Likewise. We could just keep going, or we can be back here tomorrow.
Here we go. Exactly. How do people, actually, I already know the answer, and you're pretty easy to find, I have to say.
Yeah.
But
when we talk branding, I do practice what I preach. I'm pretty easy to find. It's all my name, spelled a little bit differently, Rebekah, Rebekah Radice. So my website, RebekahRadice.com. You can find me on Twitter at Rebekah Radice, on Google Plus, on Facebook, just about anywhere you can think of online, I'm probably there.
That's an excellent name. Like at Deborah Anderson, I disappear. I have like a Google alert, and I'm so excited when I get an email and actually it's me and not Deborah Anderson. But I interviewed this guy, Patrick Schwerdfeger, and he's
wow.
Wonderful keynote. But he says, people always find me if they look up that name. Well, that's because everyone has trouble spelling it. So see, Rebekah, your name is just right. It's not too difficult to spell, but yet it's unique enough that they find you.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, it is a little bit easier than Deborah Anderson, like you said. At least I don't have, 100 other Deborah Andersons to fight against.
Which is good if you're trying to hide, or
Yes.
And don't look it up now because this might not be the case, but I remember when I first started as far as my music career, and I chose Deborah E. I don't know why. Like, why didn't I choose Sassy Singer? I have like sassysinger.com or whatever. I was just trying to come up with a name because, hey, we're putting out an album, whatever. So I decided that when I could look up Deborah E. and be on Google's first page, that I had arrived. Yeah. So I hit that point where I think I had 9 spots or something. I don't know if that's still the case, but it's like, wow. I actually played with Deborah E. That was.
You know what? I'm going to check that out as soon as we get off here.
Okay, and now there'll be 0, but I promise you, I have a screenshot of.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Thank you so much, Rebekah. I really appreciate this, and I'm sure the audience
my pleasure.
Tips.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Don't you wanna kiss and hug me? Come on strong, go on and love me. Stop waste that big old moon. Wake up and smell the perfume. Just say if you wanna be more than friends. got some love I'd like to make. Baby, you can squeeze me, I won't break. We could be in a paradise, you and me. Until then, I'll remind you again. Just say when. Oh yeah, until then, let me remind you again. Just say when. Oh baby, just say when.